let's go ahead and call meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and do the approval of the minutes and the additions, and then we'll move into the Board of Health.
I make a motion to approve the minutes September 21st, 2015.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from September 21st, 2015, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Additions and deletions we need to add under correspondence. We need to add the Brattleboro Development Corp. We need to add Emily Long. We need to add, was it Laura
Richardson, yeah.
For the Holiday of Horses Parade. Yeah. And we need to add Rick Hege. Is there any other additions or deletions?
I didn't put Rick in there.
Alrighty. Then I'll entertain a motion to convene the Board of Health.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of convening the Board of Health signify by saying aye.
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 Right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. It's at 6:01, please. Okay. So how'd you make out?
We had Herbert Meckel out of Dummerston come in, and he was able to put in the GFCIs. Okay. And I have this here from him, basically saying he didn't put too much detail on there, but I believe he said that he ran into an issue of needing to put in a new panel.
Okay.
I don't know much about terminology and everything, but basically saying he will come back, like it says on there, to put the carbon monoxide detectors in.
Okay, so they are not in yet.
They are not in, because
Okay.
he ran into some sort of snag while he was there and needs to come back.
Okay. Was that the only issue that was left with just the electrical? You did the roof,
Correct.
and there was one.
Well,
That's why we need to extend it.
Just the electrical? Okay.
yeah, the roof, and we had talked about the septic, and so we got an
Right.
extension just for the electrical.
Okay, do you have any idea when, in fact, he's going to come take care of the issue with the panel and the detectors?
He said later this month, and I think when he was here the other day, he basically asked what my schedule was, and I told him as soon as possible. I just need the 48 hours notice. So I think within the next couple of weeks, he'll be able to get in there and do it.
When did he do this? Do you remember?
On Thursday.
Last Thursday?
Yeah.
September, be the 28th. No. I can't see it.
First. October 1.
Okay.
If it was Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, it requires another month extension, right?
Well, it's at least a 2-week extension, because our next meeting would be the 7th.
See, it's not, I mean, he's not succinct enough. Number one, there's no date on that, so you don't know what it's on. And number two is, it's not.
Just
it's just the date later this month is kind of like hanging there.
So he's going to hardwire the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide or dioxide.
Was he replacing the panel, service entrance panel? Or?
Yes.
No, he is going to
Yeah,
replace the panel.
that's basically, he was hoping to do it all that one day, but
That would make sense why he couldn't go ahead and install them.
yeah.
I would make a motion that we extend the health order until November 2nd, at which time we ask that they have a completed order and description for the electrical.
Would you make sure that when he puts the panel in and when he puts the date on it for us as well, just so that we can have that. I'll let you have this back because I'm sure you need it for your records.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Can I just see that? Yeah. Just get it going.
Then all those in favor of extending the health order until the 2nd of November, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes, right? So yes, if you would, you don't even really need to come. If you want to just send the paperwork on through to Craig to the town hall, then we'll notify you then that the health order has been rescinded once all the work is done. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do Miss Portieri so she doesn't have to sit here and listen to us bicker the rest of the evening.
Oh, she's all right.
I thought it'd be healthy to do it until 11 o'clock.
Ken? She can stay long, Sean.
No, she doesn't have to, because I'm sure she wants to go home once in a while.
But the inner workings are so interesting.
That's true.
Yeah.
All meetings are different.
So the main question that we have, I think you and Craig have kind of come to a schedule of who's in the office when, which was kind of the confusing part going into things. Can you just fill everybody in on kind of where you are in the office? Your frustrations as well as your successes? Both sides of those?
Well, I have Nemrick coming back on Friday.
Okay.
Not Lori, but Penny. And Lori had gotten to the end of the year so that you know that you have 400 and some thousand at the end of the year. And I am trying to back out a lot of transfers that were done in July, which has taken me a while. I'm trying to figure out the retirement, which I did, and we need to send more money.
Yeah, I've noticed the more.
And I think that comes from previously they sent you money back. Now we're sending it back to them again.
We're just off schedule. We'll get money back in December.
Yeah, it goes back and forth every other quarter.
And that's kind of a pain to go from what the payroll says to the bank statement because they don't really match up. So I'm having issues with that and trying to get information from the bank. One person told me something, then the next person said, oh, I can't talk to you, you're not on the list to be talked to. So I'm really just trying to...
Let me just interrupt, what's that mean? Means
The
if you call
payroll.
the bank, you can't get information?
The payroll part of it. I was trying to get
We
her...
can address that, right?
We can
Oh,
do
yeah,
this
no,
in
it's
multiple
easy.
ways.
It's like, it's password control. It's like Kathy trying to get into grant systems. There's layer upon layer of guardians at the gate. Some people answer the phone, some people don't. People's is, they change. I'm in, I can change it over to her. I had to change it back to myself when Chris left.
Yeah.
So it's doable. You just have to talk to
If
the
I had
people.
given another name, I'm sure I would have gotten right through, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So, what else? So I'm trying to get the month of July reconciled, straightened out, and then I'll go on to the next one. I'm hoping Penny will be able to do that on Friday. I put in for a FEMA payment, which should be here within a week or so. I tried to call Rose today, but she wasn't in the office.
Is that on the East Hill project?
Now, does that come ACH?
Yes.
Because we're trying to track down money, and is there any possibility that it would have slid in, nobody knew it?
No.
Okay.
No, because you'll get a notice from the state treasurer that says what day they put it in and what it's for. The payments are numbered.
And they usually email those to the treasurer.
Yeah.
So it'll go into Anita's office then?
Yeah, but it comes in real time. It's not like it shows up in the mail 3 days later kind of thing. We get those even before the checks are
And
in.
they usually come in on Tuesdays, for me anyway, all my payments have, but, so hopefully tomorrow that will be.
Fingers crossed on that one.
I talked to FEMA, the closeout person, Mary, and I had a meeting with her for Jamaica, so she sent me everything
For Townsend.
that pertains to Townsend. She supposed to get me into the ME system so I can see all of the PWs, and I haven't gotten that yet, so.
Okay.
I'm here Fridays all day, and another half a day I'm trying, my taxes were just due last Thursday, so I am very under checks. As soon as that gets done, things will calm down in my office, so I will be here another day during the week.
It's pretty quiet. Saturdays. Saturdays is pretty quiet. After Catherine.
So, when we get last year closed out, you're talking, we've got a surplus, we have an extra 400,000 somehow, somewhere, which is,
It's closed, yeah.
it is closed.
And we knew that, but a lot of that was tied up in reserve money that we didn't count on the line of credit application. But when we figured taxes, we were starting with about 250 cash that was available, 265, something like that.
But we're talking 400 and something, because what was happening before, from where, at least from where I'm sitting, every meeting you said, but their figures aren't right, the figures aren't right. Now, I want to know if the figures are right.
The figures are right now, as far as I know, for closing out the year. And they pretty much agree with what we worked on this summer. They just weren't right in the machine. She couldn't get them right. They've been made right by Lori coming in and by your working to finish this out.
And they've been reconciled with the bank statement. But again, that account, that bank statement has all the reserve accounts in there as well. So that's not all surplus money.
No, I don't think it can.
And a lot of what I work on is that. I look at the bank statement, I look at what you do in warrants, I do the additions, subtractions, I look at what's coming ahead and what's behind, what's still outstanding, to have a rough idea of where we are. I mean, it's just an instinctive.
Yeah, but we need something more than a rough idea.
Oh, no, I understand that, but
We're gonna be going into budget.
but we didn't have
that.
We didn't have that at the end of June. We didn't have it at the end of July. In the middle of July, we had set the tax rate. I did best hunch, and we came pretty close at 450, 435, whatever it was.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about going forward, not
Yeah.
what had happened in the
And that's
past.
why I'm trying to get,
She's trying to reconcile July right now.
yeah, so that I know what accounts are where.
We need all that information when we begin our budget, right? Which is we're gonna be doing pretty soon.
Yeah,
Only about
it's over.
1st of December we should start that.
I think not.
So, because
That just kind of slid right under the table.
in your mailboxes, you have all have a manila folder. In that manila folder, you have a budget status.
You want to try that one again?
In the folders in your boxes, you've got a status report to close out the first quarter, shows you where you are this year so far, and you've got a projected budget worksheet to fill in blanks for general fund, highway fund, and equipment fund.
So I do have a question for you. I know you're just beginning to get frustrated with People's Bank.
Yes.
It's not done yet. But as this starts to develop and as you start to become comfortable with the town and the employees, et cetera, is that a function that you would want to consider taking back in-house? Or so you've been splitting just out the Beamers and that piece so that you have a little bit more control over what's going on and how it's happening?
I think it is much easier to use Nemrick for the whole
Just the whole
payroll.
thing.
Yeah, because the way that it works, it takes all the withholding, state, federal, Beamers, insurance. It moves it for you, and it sets it aside in a check. So when you get to the end of the quarter, today I did my retirement. I wrote a check that had been set aside for the quarter, and it equaled what it was supposed to, and I sent the check in and I balanced on the Beamer site. The same with the 941, the quarterly, the state quarterly. It just does it for you, so I think it's less time consuming to do it.
We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Basically, we're entering it into Nemrick piece by piece, and she has to change it all to
You're
make it
taking
agree
it
with
apart,
people's.
exactly.
So, because the labor is there, 90% of the labor is there anyway. But there are responsibilities that come with obviously taking over payroll, like doing the W-2s and all the stuff.
And Nemrick does the W-2s. I mean,
And that's fine.
it's,
Well, that's certainly something, because we know the contract just rolled over, but that is certainly something that we could buy our way out of if we made the decision that that was the way to go payroll-wise.
well, I think with the way the dates are going and them sending October, retirement in September, and, you know, then me having to sit there, 3 hours the other day to figure out how to make it balanced, because we are the ones that have to make it balanced, not them. And so I had to do a little spreadsheet and see what they took out of each person, and was it enough, was it too much? And that's how I arrived at the
Get the amount?
7, because that is what Beamer said we owed after I put everybody in. So,
Is there any other questions for Terry? Is she still sane?
I'm hoping by your next meeting that I will have July done, August done, so we can see where we're at.
But Joe keeps telling us he keeps finding magic money in the checking account, so we should be in good shape.
I would like to kind of pare down the chart of accounts. If there's a lot of things in there that either aren't used or don't make sense, or it's, yeah, I've simplified my system down to about 4 pages. So,
You mean it's not powerful?
no,
Oh, darn.
I whittled 4 accounts out of there. I can't imagine getting down to 4 pages, but that'd be great.
That's pretty good.
well, we don't have an equipment fund either, which makes a difference. We just have highway in general, but all of the, you know, the highway doesn't carry a balance, the general fund carries everything, and it's due to, so. I just have to get used to this.
Whatever makes it easier. You're more sensible.
Yeah, because
It changes from board to
Well,
board.
I mean,
It changes from board to board. Some boards
Well,
want
yeah,
to see all the
I-
little breakdowns, some just want the big picture.
yeah, it depends on how specific you want to be. You know, do you want to know every nut and bolt for every truck, or do you
We
want
went through
repairs?
a couple of years of that. It's
You
good
know,
news.
that's one of the things that I can think of that I saw, was that every truck was in there, and, you know, then you had nuts and bolts and gas and diesel and fan belts, and, you know, it just kind of seems like a lot.
Yeah, but it seems like a lot, but yet we don't keep track of that. We don't know what the truck's making us money or costing us money.
I would say you're right, but I would rather do it in spreadsheet form than to muddy the reports that you get. I think it would take less time for me to take a bill and put it in a spreadsheet than it would for you guys to, you know, look over all that stuff. But that's just me. You know, I don't mind doing that.
So you're gonna tackle the warrants here shortly?
Yes.
Oh, you are, huh? You get brave?
Well, there's really not much to them. Because,
You should stick around for the discussion that's gonna happen, then you don't think there's anything to it.
yeah,
see, I put everything on one, so.
I wish. I've got 10, 11.
You got 11.
11. Cool.
Well, you'd have one that's this
Did
long.
that long.
That's all.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Terry? I do know that I've been in here and she's working hard at trying to figure out the mess that she inherited. And she's,
I'll get that.
I know you will. But I do appreciate the time you put into it, because it hasn't been easy with everybody being sick, and our plan to get everything caught up and then move forward didn't work so well, did it?
Yeah. We'll see how it goes with Penny on Friday, and then, you know, if I gotta have her come back for another half a day, I will.
Okay.
I haven't heard how Lori's doing, so I don't know.
Right.
Because there was some talk about maybe her doing some things at home. So,
But just keep us informed as to what's going on with that piece. Okay? No other questions? Thank you very much.
I'll see you
No, I want to
Friday.
get so we know where we stand. That's a big thing.
All right, then, boy, that worked out just right. So then moving on to the highway.
Highway tonight. Haven't ordered our sand yet because we've been busy doing shoulders and culverts. I'd like to get everything. And then we've been doing fall scraping right now. We're not quite done with the shoulders on Grafton Road and Route 35. We'll be done with that tomorrow. Really not a lot to report. They did buy culverts. I'm sure you saw that coming on the warrants. They came in last time. No?
It's not on the warrant yet.
Not on the warrants yet. Okay.
Yeah, it's not really for.
We've been installing culverts. I'd like to get one scraping over the culverts before winter time. You know. That's about it. We've just been real busy. And I will order sand probably before our next meeting because somebody has to be there to push the sand up when the trucks come. And salt. I will order salt also. We're not in dire straits right now. BB Chain, their prices will go up November 1st on chains compared to, they're holding last year's price till November 1st. So I think we ought to order chains before the end of the month for the trucks for the winter time. And, that's about all I got.
You brought up the gravel that you're doing the shoulder work.
Yeah.
The trucks are coming out of the pit, they're well loaded.
I
Are you aware that you have a mess at that intersection?
Yes, I was told that.
Okay. Because it is creating an issue with the store when people try to stop. And then I have a question about the trash. Is
Yeah.
Corey substituting for Arnold? We've noticed the hours have.
Bob has been, Corey's back has been out. Matter of fact, I took it to the VA about 3 weeks ago. So Bob LaCourse has filled in for Arnold. Then Bob doesn't work overtime. He'll go home early on Friday.
Okay, so that's how that's being.
That's how that's
switched
being, yeah.
up. Okay, so it's kind of a hard place to be. Is Arnold just not capable of the long day, or is
He's had meetings.
He's had meetings. Okay, so there was a reason that he had.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
No, Arnold's fine.
Well, but we also thought that perhaps he had hit his pay cap.
No,
Okay,
that's not it at all.
okay.
And Bob's good enough to do it. So.
Okay. Any idea of when we're going to get to the mowing? Since we had a frost last night.
I know what we had, and I have not heard from Rockwell. I've talked to Mr. Hunt about it. I know nothing about it. I don't even know where to get a hold of him. I don't have.
I can give him a call.
I don't have any of his paperwork or anything. That was when the bids came in. You guys took care of the bids. I have no paperwork from him.
All right. The other one, the big elephant in the room, and I mean it's a big elephant in the room, wherever it is, it's over there at the moment, is the paving bit, or the paving. And
Paving?
the paving.
Yes.
And it came in $22,000 over what was approved,
Yes.
which is 12%. So the town's gonna eat a chunk of change.
Why is that?
No, that's what we're asking you.
That's why we want to
You were
know.
there supervising, right?
I was.
I mean, that's,
They bid and the board approved 176. It came in at 197 or something.
Yeah.
The grant, we did get the grant for 120.
I don't know why it came over though.
Well, I don't know, but
And there's no
It
explanation.
wasn't because they put too much pavement on the aprons of people's driveways.
Okay.
No, that wasn't the problem, trust me.
But
No,
yeah,
it's like 300 tons.
I don't know, I will call Thurber on that. I opened that Friday, I got my mail, I opened it Friday, and I put it right back in the thing, I didn't even look at it.
Well, it was hard to get back to the thing, 'cause I did take a look at the sheets,
I
but
didn't even know what it was, to be honest with you, when I opened it.
it,
But then I opened it, I said, oh shit, that's a
I
pavement
don't know what the
ticket.
hell they got carried away with the grade up there by Mitch's. The guy tore his, Mitch didn't, but a guy pulled in his yard, tore his exhaust off because they built it up so much there.
I put material there.
Yeah, no, I say, but it wasn't Mitch, but somebody pulled in there and cleaned the exhaust off his car.
So I read,
Pavements up there like that.
I thought that part of your being there was monitoring that and how much they were doing and where they were doing it.
I was.
Because you spent the time there and
I did.
and you explained that to us, I thought that's what it was about.
I did, I was looking at with their job, not on the slips. I did not have the slips.
well, the big question becomes, you know, I'd like to almost go back and look at the bids to see where the other two companies
I was
came
gonna
in.
say, see what they figured for tonnage and what they use for tonnage.
You know, because to come in 12% over,
I can't agree with you wholeheartedly.
you know, is just not really acceptable because of the way the motion was read and the way it was accepted, it was up to.
For that, exactly, and that's what was,
And so at this point in time, we're gonna have to decide what to do about that invoice tonight. And I'm not inclined to pay it,
Me either.
given,
I suggested don't pay.
given the fact that there's something not quite right, whether somebody just mismeasured or in
That's
the
not our
estimates.
fault. They're mismeasuring. We had a pre-bid meeting, I happened to be off with my knee that time. But they had the marks on the pavement, because I marked it and Ed remarked it. Everybody had an opportunity to measure it months before this bid went out. So if they mismeasured, it's not our fault. We're not gonna pay for the mistake.
It
That's,
says for a job not to exceed X number of dollars.
that's wrong on their part.
And it was definitely, it was broken down between the two different areas.
And when we were getting done with Grafton Road, Athens Road onto the Grafton Road, and I said, Bob, how was your tonnage? And our tonnage was right on the nose, because he's got the slips from the day before and that, and he figures it out and stuff. Oh, right on the nose.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. Every load slip comes in, he took it.
They don't give you a load slip?
Not me, no.
We have them here with the receipts.
Because,
I did not get the load slips. So.
What?
I got the load slips in the mail, but not there, no.
yeah, now they're gonna say, if you was there, there's no reason they couldn't give you them load slips at the end of the day. 'Cause that's what Lane always did when
Well,
they bid it off.
even when Lane did ours, I never got load slips at the end of the day.
I always get the load slips either that night or the first thing in the morning.
Considering how many there are, it would have been hard to sit there and add those up in your head, to be honest with you.
Never got the load slips.
But yeah, if you want to follow up on that to some extent, because I have a
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
that this
I'll
this
follow
board's
up.
not gonna pay it.
The other two bids would have been less.
Okay.
Even though
Yeah,
the price, well, actually, it's lower.
that, yeah.
No, 61.86, so that's higher. We're
Yeah.
looking at per ton price for 161, 126 would be 187, and 155,
So the other two would have actually come in cheaper. The other two bids that we received would have actually come in cheaper than Springfield if it had been on target, so to speak, so, yeah.
But he should have figured the tonnage for the square footage, this is all pretty much 22 feet,
Well,
21
the
feet.
contract does say not to exceed.
Right.
Okay, then the last piece that I have on my list is a question about Rice Tree. Do we know when that?
I did not call Rice Tree this week, or today's Monday. I did not call Rice today because we were doing shoulders. I usually call them twice a week, and I didn't call them today.
Because we still haven't seen the bill either.
They're still not quite done. Almost, but not quite.
It's like 3
A
trillion
nice strong wind, maybe take the trees down?
It hasn't yet. It was awful windy last week.
Alright.
No,
I mean,
We could tell by the amount of road calls you've been out on for trees.
I've been, since I've been on the board, I've been dealing with these same trees. And that's almost 2 years now. So I'd really like to get them down and in somebody's fireplace this winter. So if you could give them a call, that'd be great. Let's see, anything else other than?
The
Go ahead.
chloride,
Yeah.
Chloride,
the
yes.
McGill chloride. We were gonna ask how come he ordered that.
That was number 5, okay.
Yeah.
On the magnesium chloride, you just filled the tank?
Yes.
Why?
For grade.
So you're gonna, even though we're this late into the season, we're into the rainy season, we're still gonna,
It is not, yes, it's for dust, but it also tightens the road up. The road will last a lot longer with magnesium chloride than if you just scrape it with nothing on it. And we're doing our fall scraping right now. And we got a lot of months, we got probably 2 months before snow hits where we can really have snow and freeze up, I think. Before.
You're an optimist. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, we can get snow, but the roads aren't gonna freeze up for a while like that. So I was scraping in September, October, and some in November. So that's over 2 months.
So that, in other words, that
That's-
nothing's gonna be sitting in that tank over the winter?
No.
That's what you're telling me?
No, they're almost empty again.
You gonna get more?
No. Almost all of our fall scraping's done. It's a lot better to do it before the leaves get on the ground than it is with the leaves on the ground, trust me.
Well, they go in the ditches where we have to cut the weeds, so it all works.
That's right, the weeds are holding the leaves out.
There you
See?
go. The other thing that is going to come up under correspondence, but since you're here, I may as well do it now, is my other half wrote a letter. Basically asking about the culvert at the end of the intersection with Plum Road, Route 30 and Wilson's Field. There's a culvert that goes on.
Just.
The tube, the metal tube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all plugged up again, which means that whole 5 acres is gonna drain down Plum Road.
Plug up again.
It's all plugged up again. Can we do something before it freezes? So that in the spring, when we do get melt, it doesn't all end up in my
Sure.
back bottom, lower 40?
Yeah, no, I just took,
I mean, there's so much sand out there, it doesn't take it long at all to clog up, and people drive over the ends of it and have tendency to loosen that sand.
You got quite a few places that culverts are half full of matter.
Yeah.
They do that and they freeze, then you're gonna be in deep doo-doo.
A lot of culverts, but we just had 3 3/8 inches of rain. Everything would. We clean culverts all the time.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
think I looked at
he
that.
just-
The-
he
You
just
mean
noticed
the
that-
boiler tube? Yeah.
That the last rain that we had, that in fact, he was having issues with the water running off the field and missing the tube.
Missing the tube?
Well, not going all the way through the tube. Part of it was going into the tube because it was partially clogged, and the rest of it was coming on, way on down the
Tube
other.
wasn't big enough to handle it.
With the sand
Clogged up.
that's in it. So he just requested that that be cleaned. Okay, and I think that,
Quick question about the policy on, on vacation time. What is it? Are you supposed to take a whole day off or just part of the day off?
Well, you see now, like Friday, I took time off Friday, but I came in because I had a meeting. I don't usually take a whole day off if I'm not leaving the area, because I try to get the guys to work. I try to make sure everything's going before I leave, you know what I mean? Damn if you do, damn if you don't. So,
well, the only thing I will say about that is particularly as you heard us talking with the new bookkeeper about bringing the payroll back in-house, those odd time increments make it very difficult to keep track of how much of your vacation time you've used. So,
you know, I've been doing this job for like 20 years, you know, different places. And even before here, it's never really been an issue. I don't know why it's a problem.
well, when you get into half hours,
But our vacation is all by hours, it's not by days. It's all by hours.
Yeah, but the point
I get X amount of hours per year to
When
pick
someone
up.
shows up to work, you want them to produce the most amount in the time that they're there,
I agree,
so.
and that's why I leave.
Right.
I come in and get it, that I won't be here longer than I have to, because I usually have something planned, so.
okay, well, like I said, we'll.
Damn if you do, damn if you don't. Try to do the job best I can. You think I wanna come in early in the morning, make sure everybody's going? No, but I do, because I feel responsible.
Any other questions?
Yep. Did you speak to Ed about his speed on the
I
equipment,
most
how
certainly
he's
did.
using?
That's what he did on the loader, the grader, everything.
And we already spoke about the gravel down there, so that.
I know what the problem with the gravel there was. It was a spinner full of, it happened here and it happened up there. Bob was not cleaning his spinner off, but the spinner isn't being used. He just didn't realize.
Okay.
Comes on to shoot, and it misses shoot a little bit, hits the spinner, puddles up on it. And what's the first hard left he makes?
Yeah,
Right. Or the first hard right he makes. Everything's a straight shot.
yeah, there was definitely a lot of gravel on
And
the intersection.
it was brought to my attention and I spoke to him about it.
Oh, okay. Anything else? Anybody? Thank you very much. And if you could get back to us on what's going on with Springfield
I will.
and with Rice, both, I'd appreciate it.
And mowing, and, yes, you
Oh,
Craig.
and the mowing, yeah.
On what, in the
The
morning?
mowing, I
Oh,
don't know.
oh, yeah,
I don't know what you wanna do about that, it's getting,
Yeah, is it
I don't
really,
even know where the guy lives.
is it really worth going forward with it at this point in time, considering the time? We've already had a
Well,
frost.
here's, I say yes, because if you.
yeah,
if you
yeah.
see where I'm gonna show
I
around,
think it is, because when you got brush and stuff, it'll get,
And it gets bigger,
it'll be
bigger.
bigger next year.
And you know, it is a state law, it's in the book of statutes, we have to mow every year too, by the way. And, but it's incredible how much.
Pull that book of statutes out.
Yeah, that's the law. What else we gotta do?
But
it-
they're holding up frogs.
Can I report on that? You're already on TV.
They're working on it, but
I didn't see and they got their own mower. I don't think, is Newfane done yet? Because they weren't done last week.
I don't know, but I have to
But you know, it gets easier to mow.
You're gonna laugh at me after you have a frost, because you can see all the rocks
You
and
see the
stuff,
rocks, yeah.
and you're not hitting and breaking your motor.
But quite frankly, you know, it's amazing to go through Dummerston because they've mowed twice this year and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Well, they got their own tractor mower.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
yeah, they got one backhoe and mower mill to go down the side.
And when we went to St. Claas, Lee and I did this,
Invasive species, there's great times of year to mow where you can knock it down pretty good, other times it doesn't matter when you do it. So if you have your own mower, you can mow those spots and blah, blah, blah.
what's the whole cost?
Why don't we stick to the original plan and just get it mowed like in September or something?
That's what our plan was. That's what our bid says, isn't it?
Frost and everything else.
As an attachment, yeah, probably 50. If you're looking at.
Which I like to have done right
probably
before school. but
200,000.
didn't happen.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
But if you ever see the guy, I don't know if you ever see him, that's what.
I'll see if I can catch up with him somewhere.
You know what he's got for a mower? One went down by, round 4.
Sycamore, isn't it?
No, this one had 2 flat downs and the one in the back.
Oh, I don't know.
No, he's,
He's got, Andrew's got Sycamore, doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so if you could get back to us on this too, at
The
least.
tree.
Thank you, sir.
Grafton Road, Culvert.
Grafton Culvert. Are you talking about it? No, Mr. Hunt and I went up there Friday.
We're getting to it.
And, they're gonna start work on the 11th, or 12th?
12,
And,
Right after the weekend.
did you get the easements?
They're still waiting, but yeah, they're coming, hopefully.
You know, so.
I see they come up like this morning in Ivoryville store. They had a whole bunch of signposts and I was wondering if they was headed up that way.
The signs are
There,
out.
there, the signs up.
And
They
they've started doing some cutting up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause they had a whole bunch of posts on the trailer.
Yeah, they already put the warning signs up both ways.
So where we at?
As soon as they're done with their portable stoplights, that's when they're gonna start our job, which should be next week.
What type of a time frame were they looking at for the replacement of that culvert?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
They want an extension, so I got an extension, and then, Michi was a little bit behind, that's a culvert manufacturing. So I got another extension, so we're good till,
December.
no, November 15th, I thought.
So it's gonna go in.
Yes, it's gonna go in. So, yeah, they want them, I get them.
So you
I
have
like
the
these.
done. Put in half, put in half.
Okay.
That asphalt on these culverts, you gonna straighten that out before winter? And say if you don't, you'll be tearing it all out with the snowplow.
Or making it smoother either or.
There you go, that's a good way to look at it.
Well, they dip down like that, that cutting edge catches it, you'll be peeling on
They
it.
were flush, believe it or not, when we were done.
Anything else? No, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
In a case like that, you gotta be a little more flush.
Okay, law enforcement, I don't believe we have anything. Town,
Have we gotten anything from them?
No, we've not gotten, we did get judicial fines for August, I believe that was August. Is that July? We're gonna check for fines. Maybe it was July. It comes in quarterly, I guess, I don't know. Can't remember, we haven't heard from the state police, with regard to any building.
and
Do you wanna call them, or you want me to? I mean, one of us should call them just to touch base and.
I can do that,
Yeah.
they have been around and
they've been a new thing. There's
Well,
no
if we
doubt
just-
about it.
I know they've been around and I
Yeah.
really appreciate it, but if we just get some sort of a report.
I can do that and find out how they want to proceed with the paperwork end of it without saying, without asking them to send a bill,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
to speak. Just find out how they want to handle it. Okay, yeah, I can call.
Okay, then moving on to the treasurer. And his magic money?
That's you, Joe. That's you.
Yeah. So it says here you have $150,409.64, and then you gotta deduct your, how many thousand you got in the general fund for special projects. And for the first quarter, well, I got some today, so it'll be less than this, but there is $49,492.78 due for the first quarter.
Is the unpaid?
Yes.
It's not too bad. Okay. And, the first quarter status report, you basically all have in the manila folder that has that in it. I don't know if you want to take some time to go over it right now, or if you want to wait, what you'd like to do with that.
I think we just look it over and then at the next meeting begin to 1st December or whatever.
Well, needless to say, Terry will have.
The budget numbers are good. What you'll see on that budget report is that there has not been any spending this year. This is particular probably to the highway department because there are big spenders. But in terms of any kind of infrastructure on the garage, any equipment repairs, oil filters, oil, we haven't spent anything all summer. And we're now going into the second quarter. Now I know that's going to ramp up because we're just going to start buying sand and salt, and we just bought Culvert. You haven't seen the bill for that, about $3 grand.
Tire change.
Tire chains, yeah, because they're going to raise the price on November 1st, and I don't know why, and nobody can explain why we buy the most expensive chains from Austria we can get our hands on and run them out every storm. But in any case, the spending will start. But to date, we've been very conservative on the spending. The highway has certainly been very conservative on the spending. Of course, we haven't done anything in town hall either. So the numbers are really, really good to end September with.
The only problem is there were some summer projects that were included in the budget for last year. One of them was the sand and salt shed.
We talked about the sand and salt shed. We talked about doing some work on the loader.
Yeah.
But even in terms of just...
Oh, that's right. We were going to replace the cab.
Even in terms of buying a case of grease for the grater or anything like that, we're not spending any money. And I do understand. I mean, Kurt understands that when you start, in July, there isn't a lot of capital, to play with. And most of it goes into labor and into fuel. I mean, we've run a lot of fuel out. But we're not buying the bread and butter everyday stuff. The equipment fund is in really good shape. The highway fund is in good shape. But the time to do some of these projects, in my opinion, you're going to pay $50,000 tonight, and you pay $100,000 a year in bond toward the garage. The time to do the repair work, get somebody in to button it up, just whatever, just general stuff.
Okay, so let's go move through the warrants.
I make a motion that we approve warrant number 10057.
Wait, you're going to take them in order?
Well, I took them in whatever I can. They're not in order, that's all.
Okay. Well, that's
They got tossed around, so. Let me just do them.
One would be payroll.
Just a minute. 7.
This is the last one here.
It's the second to last one. Yeah.
It says A.
5A.
A would be the last one.
And you got there.
This is 5.9 and 5.8.
All right, I make a motion, we sign warrant number 10051, payroll in the amount of $8,1866.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Just a couple things I'd like to point out that's included in this this payroll. This has already gone out, so it's basically a moot point. You'll notice in there that when the person who cleans town hall submitted his timesheet on a sticky note. I think we're gonna have to start getting serious about timesheets. I mean, it's bad enough if you can't read it, but a sticky
Yeah,
note.
no, it shouldn't be on a sticky note.
We had, one of the elected officials, had a timesheet submitted that wasn't signed off on.
That's
Again,
on the new one coming.
Is that, I thought that was on this
I
one.
thought it was on this one as well.
Maybe it wasn't. Okay, Sean's is the one with the blue sticky note. No, because that's Sean's.
I think
Yeah,
you
so we're in the wrong one.
That's all right, you're getting a week ahead, but it's the same problem, it doesn't really matter when.
Yeah, you're right, there's Sean.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see the sticky note.
Yeah, it's over here. There it is.
All right, so that's a different, that's a.
It's a different, well, it's the one that's gonna go in tomorrow. This payroll's going in tomorrow.
Unless it's changed tonight.
Right,
This one?
no, this
No,
one,
that
this is a
one,
different
which is a
payroll.
different warrant.
Right.
Right.
So let's do
this one.
Yeah,
So,
close up that folder there.
yeah, otherwise we'll lose all the pieces. So all those in favor of paying payroll warrant 10051 in the amount of $8,018.66, signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Now, do you want to talk about next week's before it goes in?
Sure.
All right? Do that. So, next week's. On the sticky note. You have, this is the note that was submitted for pay for the person that claims.
Oh.
And so I don't know what you want to do, if we want to enforce.
I think that we need to enforce and inform him and inform everyone else. Unless timesheets are submitted on the appropriate forms, they will not get paid.
Well,
I think you're gonna have to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
we have some other issues in that same line that are coming up on the tax payments, am I right? That tax thing that was
It's one of the warrants at the
written
end.
on an
Yeah,
envelope
yeah,
and
the
scrap piece of
redemption.
paper
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, and I mean, we have appropriate forms for that.
No, we can't have little slips of paper and.
Well, what the board has done historically, and this has come up many times in the last couple of years, has had the bookkeeper or whoever, me, send out memos that the board would, well, the board wants. On a timesheet, we have 4 or 5 different timesheets that come in, we haven't gotten that consistent. But I would recommend that if you're gonna pass a motion toward that effect, that you instruct the bookkeeper. Just simply make, whoever the bookkeeper is doing payroll, instruct the bookkeeper not to pay unless the board overrides a decision. You just simply don't put it in the system. All these I have to put in the system because if I'm given a time slip, it's basically a demand for pay, and I'm not the one to make the choice. I put it in pretty much as is. If there are issues with it, I try to bring it up with a board member, usually Kathy.
but basically, what you've got 3 different issues with this payroll
But every
that's
week
going in
it's the same
tomorrow.
thing.
Yeah.
You've got the sticky note for the one timesheet. You have one that's not signed off
More
for.
than one, actually.
Well, more than one that's not signed off for by the supervisor, which is another rule. The supervisor has to sign off on the request. And then the third one is just kind of me being sticky about the fact that we had a lister who submitted 1.5 hours to sit at our abatement meeting the other night, which is statutorily one of their duties. And I just have a real problem paying one of the listers to do something their job requires them to do.
And we actually dealt with that about a year ago, well, less than a year ago, I think it was.
Exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same thing with listers coming to meetings at night where they were required to come. It's statutorily required that they be present and provide evidence. That's a duty that's in the book. But
And then turning around and charging. And it's not consistent, it's not all of them.
no.
That makes it even more unfair. If everybody was asking for reimbursement, that would be one thing, but only certain people are. So those are the issues that are currently in this particular payroll that'll go in tomorrow.
Well, my opinion, number one, if timesheet submitted on a sticky note, that's not appropriate, should not be paid. Until, I'm just telling you my opinion. And if a supervisor has not signed off on a timesheet, then I don't think we should pay it. I think it has to be signed off. That's why the supervisor signs off, is approving this amount of time for somebody.
Now, are we literally, the first time somebody comes storming in here, raising holy Cain over the fact that they didn't get a paycheck because somebody followed the rules and withheld the pay, are we going to back up the bookkeeper in that?
I would think we do back up the book. I mean, I'm willing.
Because if the supervisor signs off on it, but then the addition is wrong, is that the supervisor's fault, or is it the person who had it up for it?
It's the supervisor's fault.
Well, I agree. I don't disagree, but the person who's here 40 hours a week is the person behind the door back here, and that's who gets heard from. And it's easy enough to say, the instructions are crystal clear. They made a motion, this is the way it falls. If you got a problem, come to the next meeting, kind of thing. It's hard when we're making exceptions. It's harder when Kathy and I are here for an hour or two every Saturday morning trying to decipher some of this stuff, let alone figure out how to set a policy for it.
So what would you like the policy to be, just so it's in black and white and crystal clear?
Well, I thought already was a policy that you.
It is.
I wasn't on the board at that time
pieces.
when you went through the crayon and Crayola
Right,
phase, but I'm just, my opinion is, if it's not appropriate, and a sticky note is not appropriate, and it's not appropriate if your supervisor has not signed off on your timesheet, that, to me, then it's not a valid timesheet. That's why he signs off. If we just circumvent that, then why do you even have him sign off on it?
I don't disagree. Remember, Kathy, we tried to standardize the timesheet.
And I'm willing to stand behind that, all right?
I think we need a total transparent timesheet, because these timesheets, you need to be a code reader to figure them out.
Yep.
No, we're in a cycle right now where you get to look at tomorrow's payroll tonight before it actually, we push a button and submit it. So any number of changes can happen. Usually you're a week or two behind, and that presents a certain kind of problem where you're looking at something like pay order number 1, that went out 2 weeks ago after your last meeting, and you're just really seeing it now.
So would somebody like to make a motion? I mean, again, this is a different board from the one that made the previous motion. Maybe each board needs to go through and ratify what the rules are.
You have a new bookkeeper, and she should be, I mean, she is gonna learn this payroll system. She may change it over to Nemrick from Peoples. We'll see what happens. Right now, I'm just kind of filling in because it's a different system and I know the system, but that said, I'm assuming that she will take this on, and I know that she's not gonna find it easy to understand how we do it in Townsend. If everybody's different, and virtually everybody's different.
Way back when I was on the board before, we went through this business of little slips of paper and everything and tried to standardize it. I thought we did have it set that way for a while, but
We didn't pay him. At that time, we didn't pay him for little slips of paper.
1, 2, 3, 4. I think there are 5 different forms.
Probably.
Well, including sticky note signs.
Well, again, we tried to go to a standardized form. That didn't work at all, because what you need for the highway is totally inappropriate for the town clerk's office, for example. And then the listers and the bookkeeper came up with their own timesheet.
The selectboard does it differently.
And the library does it differently.
Right.
I think we should come out with one standard form, give it to them, and this is how you get paid. You write it down, you make it so it's legible.
What I'm hearing Kathy say is that the standard forms or any forms that we have don't work for everybody,
Exactly.
right?
Well,
Is that because they made their own, or because we don't have?
Part of it is that, but it is the highway, you have a timesheet which shows the hours, but you want the back page
You
to
want to
show
know
what they did or when they took a vacation day or something like that, or half a
I
day.
still think that's
Yeah, but what is the
the
difference
highway
of a timesheet being this big or being the full page?
No
No,
difference.
that isn't the issue.
Well, no, I
I
understand.
mean, all you need for the town clerk's office is in and out. The date worked and the in and out. You don't need like we've got with the highway. which is, you know, the back pages with all the, I cut this tree, I moved this branch, where the heck the highway is.
What to do, what to do.
What to do. I mean,
Yeah, but
that you don't need for the,
Yeah, but what I'm saying, this is even confusing. They write part here and then they write part over here. If you had the whole day one across in one piece, then you'd be able to figure it out.
Some do it one
And
way,
I
some do
understand
it
what
another.
you're saying, what that wouldn't apply to every.
I still think the highway department ought to have a time clock. I just.
We had one.
we go full circle every
Yeah,
time.
we
Every year we
Well-
go full circle, it's amazing. Okay, in
Isn't it?
answer to your question, we redesigned the highway timesheet so that it technically could be read, everybody was on the same page, and what happened is this whole piece got left out of it. Nobody was happy not knowing what they were doing. So we told them to go back and start doing the back pages. Well, they started copying the back pages onto the front page, so now it just kind of morphs into its own little
It's
thing.
evolved.
Yes, it takes on a life of its own.
So I can't read the names anymore.
And then you've got the town clerk, as I said, you know, we don't need anything like that in the clerk's office. We just need in and out and what the heck day it was. But then you've got the delinquent tax collector, as soon as I can find her.
It's on half the page.
Yeah, well, there it is. You try to understand that, other than the fact she circles it and says, pay me. See, I mean-
I understand it.
There's nothing that's even remotely standard about any of this, and that's why with a new bookkeeper, it gets very confusing to go back and forth, so that's why I'm asking.
Well, and that's my concern, because I've learned a system over the last 3 or 4 years, which is the system we've got, and we have tried to make changes, but the changes need to be made so that they're enforceable in that office.
Right.
And then that person becomes quote-unquote the heavy, but that person has the backing of the board. I'm just doing what I was told to
And
do.
that's never happened. That whoever's in the back office has always been left to dry, so to speak. So if you would like to make a motion as to timesheets, I'm sure everybody would greatly appreciate it. If not, then we'll just let them keep doing their thing. All right. Here's next week's, you won't get this. next
Yeah,
week.
just throw it forward there. Just-
All right, moving on to the next one
So
then.
what's the decision? You ain't
There
gonna
wasn't a
do nothing?
decision, nobody gave me a motion.
I would make a motion. I'll make a motion that we do not pay.
You can't make a negative motion. It would have to be
You can move,
pay request.
you can move to authorize the bookkeeper not to pay. That's possible.
That's possible.
Authorize the bookkeeper not to pay any
Non-standard.
employee that does not have an appropriate and/or approved timesheet
Okay,
submitted.
are we gonna define that? Or are we just gonna,
Well-
No sticky notes, whatever.
well, no, but are we gonna, as in what that standardized timesheet is? Are we gonna just let them keep using
I
what they're using?
didn't say standardized, I said appropriate, because each department has a different
Okay.
timesheet.
Yep.
So I said
And
the
we can try to,
appropriate,
we can try to merge them in time.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, okay.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of instructing the bookkeeper to not pay,
To not pay any employee who does not submit an authorized and approved timesheet.
is that right?
Appropriate.
Appropriate, okay, yeah, appropriate and approved.
So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
But notify them too, each department, that
The other issue of attending abatement or civil authority meetings or those sort of things, even if it's statutorily required as part of their job, I think that when that person is elected to fill a position and we approve a pay rate per hour to meet those duties of that position, that they are entitled to get paid for it, whether we like it or not.
Then the question becomes, do we pay Mr. Bostrom, for example, tonight for coming to our
We
meeting?
did a legal check on that.
Yeah, we did, and it has to do with the language when they were hired, or when they were elected.
Yeah, job description.
And job description, right. The other piece is, what do we do about the people who did not request the money? Do we automatically
Well,
give it to them?
see, I think that it kind of goes back to, it used to be that if you were elected to a position, or if you held a position in this town and other towns as well, it was part of civic duty. So a lot of people didn't put in for the time. I mean, it was just kind of felt like, you know, I like my town, I'm doing a civic duty, and there are many, many hours put in that people didn't ask to get paid for. In today's world, I think that kind of changes, especially if we look back on the last few years of this town and the different appointed or elected officials. It's more, we're in for it for the paycheck rather than for serving the town.
Benefit of the town.
But I don't know, I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I haven't checked, but I think that we need to pay them if they're in a paid position and they're fulfilling part of their duties.
But again, if they don't request pay.
If they don't request pay, you don't pay them. I think anybody's got a right to not request, go to work and say, no, I don't need to get paid for that.
And I don't think you wanna try to keep track of where everybody
I
is.
agree.
I wouldn't either,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't either. I mean, but I think that whole getting paid thing is changing. Check with the attorney.
We already have, it has to do with the language when they were elected.
You know, it's too bad. I know, even highway, it used to be, God only knows how many hundreds of hours that Irv donated to town, but it used to be that if there was a projected snowstorm tonight, you didn't work today, you went home, and then you worked tonight in the snowstorm. So you didn't build up all that overtime. But today, it's sit around and or do whatever, you work all day so you can get the overtime tonight. So there's not dedication to the town that there used to be. And not just in highway, but I think that in the elected positions like that. Therefore, we start dealing with, I put in my time, I want to get paid for it.
Well,
I mean, it's a change from what we're used to, and I don't know how you battle that myself.
like I said, I'm just looking at it from an equity standpoint.
Yep.
If you're going to pay one, why don't you pay them all?
Well, I think that's notorious also, because there are many times, even in nights of election, when Anita hires people to come in and count ballots, some of them get paid, if you're on board, well, they did, I can guarantee you.
No,
I
I understand, but that died a very drastic death.
Good. But that was,
Under Al Evans.
you know, that was part of how that all morphed out.
Not one person gets paid.
Yep.
Well, excuse me, yes, they do.
One, two.
Two. Three.
But it's, you know.
Okay, that's right. Times have changed, the culture's changed, society's changed.
All right, so anyway, moving on.
Subject's changing.
Yeah, moving on, let's do the taxes.
Did you say 8:30?
Huh. Whose fault is it? It's after 7 o'clock.
I make a motion that we approve warrant number 10052 in the amount of $3,306.82.
Is there a second?
Let's see,
Second.
tax.
All those in favor, or any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying, withholding warrant number 10052 in the amount of $3,306.82, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
My papers are all mixed up, because we'll go backwards here.
You're gonna go backwards, okay.
Because we have to do something with this, because it's on the table. Warrant number, we approve warrant number 10050 in the amount of,
No, it's actually 10. That was coming at the end.
$197,109.
$197,109.68.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we ought not approve this. as it is way over budget and contract amount.
Anything else?
The foreman advises you not to.
All right, hearing nothing, all those in favor of paying warrant 10050 in the amount, for the highway fund in the amount of $197,109.68, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion is defeated.
I make a motion that we approve warrant 10053 in the general fund in the amount of $8,983.24.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
You didn't sign that, no, if you
No,
want to discuss that.
I just want to point out what this is. This is the abatement from the return of taxes for the last 2 years for $8,983, including the interest.
For the Orange Lilac property, right?
Mhm. So I just wanted to, it's been separated out, I just want everybody to be aware of what that was for. So, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of paying warrant 10053 from the general fund in the amount of $8,983.24, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve warrant number 10054 from the general fund in the amount of $52,064.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just so that for information purposes, it's the principal on the bond payments and the interest on the bond payments.
Semi-annual, that comes up in November, comes up, well, it's coming out,
Yep.
up in May. That's all.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 10054 for the general fund in the amount of $52,064, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Are you throwing the stickies away?
Just falling them apart.
You're just pulling
With regard to
stickies.
that last warrant, if we ever do get ahead a little bit, I was talking to Joe earlier, but if we could ever get a payment ahead now and then, it'd make a big difference on that interest
Yeah,
rate.
I would.
That's a 20-year bond, we're 5 years into it, but 50,000 every 6 months is a lot of money, but it's only 40,000 in principal, but if we could ever pay a principal ahead by the end of the 20-year term, that would cut the interest down pretty significantly. If we could ever nickel and dime our way toward paying it early.
Maybe we could.
Just saying.
Yep. Warrant number 10055 from the general fund in the amount of $754.79.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just, again, for information purposes, it's the catch-up on the retirement and liability insurance.
So all those in favor of paying warrant 10055 for the general fund in the amount of $754.79, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
How come they get so far behind that?
I'm sorry?
Nothing. Herb asked how they got so far behind. Basically what the bank is doing is bank is crossing quarters. They're making payments, most recently they paid October 4th quarter payments in September. So they're technically not behind or ahead. They're using the wrong coupons. The VEMR's people get this and apply them to the wrong quarter. So then when they try to reconcile, they find that the third quarter's short, and then they'll find out the fourth quarter's too far ahead, and it just goes back and forth
that's what I'm saying,
and back and
that-
forth.
People's bank works, on a calendar year, and they date the time when they take money out of the bank for payroll and deductions and withdrawals the day they date the check. So if the check is dated for a Friday, say the end of the last 2 weeks of September, and the check is dated for October 1st, 2nd, then they don't count that as September pay. It's counted as the first pay in October. even though the 2 weeks before that. Last year, we ended the year, December 31st, or they ended the calendar year for the W-2s and all the taxes and all of that, on December 15th. The next 2 weeks plus, but the next 2 weeks basically pay ended up being paid on January 2nd. And a lot of overtime and a lot of everything else. So in any case, about twice a year we get a check from the Vermont Municipal Employee Retirement System. We got a check in July for like $900. We now, because they had basically paid ahead, we now owe them, because we're behind in the, People's Bank is behind in the submissions, we're paying them $754. So it does wash out toward the end of the year, but it's a real nightmare to keep track of. Because
that's why you get a check back and then you turn around and gotta turn around and send them a check.
the first quarter of the year ended on the 30th of September, but they decided it ended on the 18th, the bank.
That shouldn't be.
Well, that's because we're on a 2-week pay cycle, and it's a Friday that they actually submit the monies. So anyway, that's, I've been dealing with that for a couple of days, enough to drive me crazy.
I make a motion, we approve warrant number 1005A from the town general fund in an amount of $2,853.16
Second.
Is there any discussion?
for just information purposes. It's a number of tax overpayments.
It's refunds.
Refunds, yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 1005A in the general fund in the amount of $2,853.16 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And I would make a motion that we approve warrant number 10056 from the town general fund in the amount of $12,739.32.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
You gonna do it, or you want me to?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter, both of us, you can begin, but
Okay.
again, this is
It
part
has
of,
already been paid.
excuse me?
It has already been
It
paid.
has.
It already has been paid, so it's, well, it's a, I hate these warrants that have already been paid, because.
Some things you have, well, okay.
I know,
yep.
I understand some things you have to, but this is another example of a bill is sent in on the back of a piece of scrap paper envelope that has no bearing. I mean, we have no record, we have nothing to fall back on other than somebody's scribbled hand note.
Well, the note, I believe, was taken from a phone call, in all due whatever to explain. The delinquent tax collector sent a note through on her official form. Kathy and I looked at this on Saturday, I mean, just a...
Hmm? What are you looking for?
Warrant number 1, is that?
Yeah, right here. Just spread it around.
It is.
So it was originally sent on an appropriate form?
No, it's on a manila folder. The delinquent tax collector asked whoever sees her envelope to give her a call about that.
Yeah, it's all attached.
Oh, is it all attached?
It's all- it's all
Oh, I'm sorry.
attached.
Did I include that folder?
Yes.
Because I can't seem to find it out back. Okay.
So we received a scribbled
Oh,
note.
there you go. Yeah,
A
you got it.
scribbled note from the delinquent tax collector says, Anita or someone, please call me about Townshend Associate redemption. Thanks, Becky. And
The call was made and a note was made.
so the call was made, and then the note was written on the back of a used envelope, basically telling
The bookkeeper
instructions how much and when to pay, or where to pay.
Basically instructing me to cut a check, which the treasurer or Anita then signed, because it was due and payable, and interest was accruing on a daily basis. That was the, I cut checks.
So I'm saying,
right.
so this envelope,
That's your
Is the
big
instruction the
this
warrant?
becomes an official record.
Right, basically coming from the treasurer or the assistant treasurer with a demand. I can write any number of checks, but they're not, I can't authorize anything. So it has to go back in that office, and this was one that came from the delinquent tax collector through the treasurer's office to the bookkeeper. I got the check, it went out in the mail.
The problem with this, what we're getting at here is this, from a business standpoint, from an auditor
Outside
standpoint, anybody looking at our finances is going to find this appalling. It's about what it
Even
is.
if I'm a little less than professional,
I'm astounded that it can happen.
I work back here for a year, I'm continuing to work back here. It comes from a lot of different sources.
So
And-
go ahead.
I'm sorry, but we have a number of different departments who do things differently, and it baffles the mind somehow.
But this is, you're talking about thousands of dollars overall. This check is for $12,000.
12,000, almost 13,000.
You know,
In
and
the
the
back
fact,
of an envelope.
right. So that, you know, there just has to be some standardization so that there's some continuity. Because 20 years down the road, when the federal government's going back through our audits to look at valid cares, they can figure out what this check was for that didn't actually go
That we
there.
approved.
It's not gonna be 20
Well, I
years,
don't
20
think,
years.
at this
It might
point,
be a year down the road.
at this point, it's not approved.
No.
The check's already gone, but that check can go without our signature. Let them figure out what to do.
But who wrote on that envelope?
That's Anita.
Do we not have paper in that office?
I gotta say, I can see her writing it down for, when she's talking to somebody, but copy the sucker over onto a decent piece of paper.
Well, and I mean, not to change the subject or segue to something else, but when you want to make money into a reserve fund, you did this last week. I typed up an instruction from the select board to tell the treasurer, Joe, to move money out of this account to that account. It's typed out, it's signed by all of you, a motion is made. There's
And it
really no
becomes
reason
part of
for
our
it,
official
but it goes
record.
in, right, it goes in the file with the records, so that transfer, which you
That's what's
made.
gonna go in the file.
So there is a reason for it.
Well, so there's something for there's an audit trail, there's a paper trail that explains what happened.
Not even on a
the day.
Townsend letterhead. On the back of a piece of scrap envelope.
So, are we done with
And
discussion?
when you.
But it has been paid.
And when you get audited, the first thing you're gonna look at, well, anybody can write this.
How many hours have I spent with auditors in the last 3 years? Yeah, it gets interesting.
I get the feeling that we get laughed at when we
You
bring
think?
when we bring these subjects up. And it goes on and on and on. And it's actually like a slap in the face to us who sit here and waste our time messing around with it. And
Well, it's the same thing that I said, it used to be at least a little bit of dedication and feeling toward the town, and we used to all the different departments work together, and now it's like they do their damnedest to screw you up. It's so disheartening and so difficult to.
Okay, so,
I can't imagine why anybody professional would do that.
well, I think it's something that needs to be brought up at town meeting in times like that when we gotta sit here and go through petty stuff like that. Not really petty in a big sense, but just somebody being a knucklehead about it.
Well, it's more to expedite things. I don't think it was intentional, and certainly not to subvert the system. It was just a note to me to type a check for this much money, and that I do understand. It was done in haste, let's say. I don't think there was anything even thought through about it. It was just a communication. That hadn't been said, it doesn't leave much.
So that makes it even worse, because now it makes it look like that's
Well,
an
no, but
actual routine way of doing business.
But the treasurer can spend money, as the treasurer chooses, and I put it on a warrant so that the select board would justify that expenditure, so that there would be accountability to the town. That this much money was spent for this reason, demanded by the delinquent tax collector as a repayment or whatever, I can't remember what it is.
redemption.
It's a redemption, and it was due, and the delinquent tax collector notified the treasurer that this was due. The treasurer asked me to cut a check, and this is the paperwork trail that I have. I put it on a warrant, even though the check was already cut, so that you would see it, so that you would say, okay, and then it would go on to the audit trail.
And to me, that's not even an appropriate request to make a check. And it's going right back to the same thing, timesheets, this kind of stuff.
And I don't understand, and this goes 2 steps out, I don't understand how the delinquent tax collector does her accounting, because I never understood that. But anyway, I get an issue for her pay, and for these things as they come up, and then they get communicated to me.
Then I would suggest, and again, just me, not the rest of the board, that if you get requests on slips of paper and sticky notes and back of scraps of paper, said just, that's not an appropriate request.
Well, again,
I mean-
the only issue that you're getting into is you're dealing with elected officials.
I understand that.
Well, we're elected officials too.
Why, I know, but there's not really anything you can do. You can demand it, you're blue in the face.
Dealing with the treasurer's office.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Treasurer over there.
I mean, who am I to second guess the treasurer? And it's not me, it's gonna be Terry, so I mean, whatever she can,
So anyway, we have
I'm
a
just trying to keep business moving during the day.
we have a motion on the table to approve warrant 10056 for the general fund. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 10056 for the general fund in the amount of $12,739.32 signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. Motion is defeated.
One abstention.
Yep.
I make a motion, we approve warrant number 10057 from the general fund in the amount of $2,786.73.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 10057 for the general fund in the amount of $2,786.73 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I only heard, did I hear only 2?
Aye, yeah.
Okay. Motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve warrant number 10058 from the highway fund in the amount of $3,592.22.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 10058 for the highway fund in the amount of $3,592.22 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve warrant number 10059 from the equipment fund in the amount of $1,142.70.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I have some discussion on this one, and talk about being petty. But every 2 weeks, we receive a gas slip request and to back up a credit card charge for 7.43 gallons of gas. Now, I would like to understand, I wish somebody would explain to me how in one slip we can fill a gas can with 7.43 gallons of gas every 2 weeks.
It's the same number, 7.32.
I won't say it's exactly the same, but it's right in that vicinity every 2 weeks.
And it's just written on a blank piece of
No,
slip.
normally there's a slip. It's where the printout takes from Riverbend.
It's from Riverbend, we put it on, it gets put on a credit card and it goes into a tank, and it's for the chainsaws and, I don't know, what, the magnesium chloride is a sprayer, that's a gas engine, isn't it?
And the chipper is.
You know what they might
Yeah, we
get,
have chipper.
is they might have a
Hasn't worked in
2.5 gallon
Yeah,
mixer,
2.5.
so they make 2-cycle engine, you know, a
Yep.
2.5 gallon
A 5 and a 2.
and then a 5. So it might be 2 different
Yep.
cans. I mean, that would be my only.
They ain't used the chipper, so that ain't taking anything.
Well, it just
No, they
seems,
don't use a chipper at all.
it just seems kind of odd that every 2 weeks we're using 18 gallons or $18 worth of gas. Almost exactly the same amount every 2 weeks. I just thought that was a little strange. So.
Should we ask her?
Yep.
Well, we can ask them the next time, I don't think it's worth following it up, it was just a question.
I'll call her up when I get home.
Okay,
The
anyway,
magnesium spray is gas.
well then that's what it is.
Yep.
Well, that's the 5 gallons. The 2.5, Rob may be right, maybe 2 cycle chain.
Okay, so, all those in favor of approving, equipment warrant 10059 in the amount of $1,142.70, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. No. Or don't. Pass it back to Craig then.
Thank you.
And we've already done members of the public. So we have correspondence. Let's start with Mr. Pinckney. Okay. I'm giving him my existence at the moment. You all received a photocopy of a handwritten letter from Mr. Pinckney. It's the
Yeah.
one we receive every other week for our meetings. It makes some allegations about a lot of different people and agencies. And I will tell the board that when I received this, I was in touch with the state Adult Protective Services, because a lot of these allegations in this did in fact refer to that agency. And I have referred this letter to them. It has been faxed to them to deal with it as they felt is appropriate. As far as the top part of it, with the complaints about the town clerk, every question that's been put forward has been answered. So,
Well, his complaint, once again, is on, because we have a copy of the answer,
Yep.
right? And again, he says that the response is not on town letterhead.
right,
It's again showing a little bit of professionalism. Had the town clerk responded on town letterhead to these responses, I think it would have been appropriate.
but I can also tell you that I know she has responded on the town letterhead. It gets nothing accomplished.
No, but I mean, it's the same thing, using
Oh,
the
absolutely.
appropriate forms, that's what we're, kind of seems to be tonight's theme, but
But anyway, the issue, you know, things like the question about the lien forms, there is no such thing. You know, and these questions have all been answered again and again and again and again, and he's just not taking no for an answer. All right, so that's been referred, and they said they would be back in touch if there was anything to report. I actually went to the deputy commissioner with that one. I actually went up the food chain. Let's see, what do we got here? We've got, who's next? Laura. Okay, Holiday of Horses. We don't actually have a letter. She just stopped in today. She's requesting that the town permit them to have their Holiday of Horses parade around the common and
It
Valley
goes up to Valley Cares. It's a gathering of people, and they involve the fire department and others for traffic control. But it is on a Sunday morning. A number of people do gather. They coordinate with Leyland and Gray to unload trailers. This will be the 3rd annual, if approved. And it actually has been a pretty well thought of. People do turn out. They seem to enjoy it. They scoop the poop. Last year they put a Christmas tree on the gazebo and strung it and lit it. But anyway, she stopped in today and asked if she needed to write something, and I said, well, Kathy was here, and we would just bring it to the table. But she's requesting for the first Sunday in December, Sunday morning. It lasts about a half an hour, 40 minutes, and there's a lot of staging time, and there's a lot of after March time. But they go up to Valley Cares, and all the people come to the windows and have a great time seeing the horses. First Sunday in December, I believe it's the 6th. We looked at it right now. But the town doesn't have any real involvement in it. We don't sound like it.
I mean, we don't.
It would be the 6th.
I mean, I don't know what she's requesting from the town.
Well, when they
We'll
originally started 3 years ago, emergency management did turn out, we did coordinate traffic and,
So is that
watch
what
it.
she's asking?
No, because we
us to know?
killed that last year.
Yeah, we told her last year, she asked again, and we said that the town would not be involved, that it was pretty much an at-risk thing. The fire department was involved and, kept an eye on things.
That's in December?
It's in December, first Sunday in December,
Yeah,
it's
but you might
cold.
have snow and it's a dangerous situation.
And they won't do it if it's really bad, or if the weather is foul, but so
No,
far
I
for
mean,
2 years.
There's no way they can get off the edge of the road if there's snowbanks.
Well, I do understand that.
Yeah, no, I say that, getting into December, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a real dangerous situation.
I don't necessarily oppose, I think it's a good thing. It sounds like a broken record. I think your request should be in writing, so we've got a record of it.
Let's get it right.
Yeah,
And also,
otherwise we're gonna start this.
Yeah, no,
whole
this has
thing.
been a theme for the theme.
Whatever, however it happened tonight, but that's the theme, and if the request is in writing, then I feel more comfortable about what we're approving and who's doing what. We're just gonna sanction it and say, yeah, it's a good thing,
but not
have at it.
only that, if something did happen at that time of year, you got something to go by rather than just hearsay.
Okay, so you let her know that.
Oh, well, I mean, you were here, and I may have misspoken when I talked to her. She said she couldn't make the meeting tonight, and I said I would just convey the request, but you're right. we should
So I'd
have
make a
paper
motion
record.
that we,
Well, it'll come before you at the next meeting.
yeah, it'll be time.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna come, it'll come in
But
19.
certificate
I know.
of insurance too.
That would be a problem.
That would probably be a problem.
Yeah.
Now, you know who's got the deep pocket to be the first one that gets named? Be the town of Townshend.
Irv Stoll.
Be the town of Townshend.
Hey, Craig and I spent
Sorry,
another day, another day
I haven't
being,
written them fast.
Yeah, but how would that work? I mean, when you got into the insurance part, when you're dealing with horses, don't they have the right of way on the road?
I think
They do, statutorily.
No, Herb, that's back in your
We
day.
don't wanna throw the statute out.
No, these,
Back before trains. Yeah.
you know, horse states.
they can't do it.
It's all sticky wicket. You can't, but I
No,
fully
I
agree.
think
And-
it's
and
a
you
great
have-
thing, everybody has a good time, all that sort of stuff. I'm just saying, in keeping and trying to get some continuity, that we have it in writing and then we got a record of the
Yeah.
request and that we approve. That's what I think.
But yet, if I get a job from the town, I've got to show insurance, and why shouldn't anybody else? If I'm doing a culvert or anything, I have to put up insurance in case something happens. Then these people should, as far as I'm concerned, they should put up an insurance. That's my opinion.
Well, then they cannot have an official parade and each horse can be on the road because.
Yep.
Since
Well, again,
technically,
it
they have
comes
the right
down
of way.
to, we should have a discussion off camera, but it comes down to the town setting policies that cover these kinds of things. This is not a fundraiser, it's just a gathering for the holidays.
Yeah.
But if you are sanctioning the use of a public thoroughfare, then technically by acknowledging and by accepting and authorizing somebody else's use of it, you are involving the
That's right.
municipality.
You are.
And, I mean, Irv is right, well, we've dealt with this on any number of things, just the use of the common or the use of the town hall.
Every single one of them.
But allowing somebody to have a wedding upstairs is the same,
Right.
I mean, it's
You're
saying yes.
absolutely right. Every single one of these events or situations that the town sanctions, and I'll tell you one of them is the hot dog stand. If somebody falls and breaks their leg over on the hot dog stand, you know who's gonna get sued? Not the hot dog vendor. the
You've got,
town.
you've got
It's
dances, you've got a
it's the
dance
same
coming
thing.
up at the end of the month here, and those actually haven't been
I mean, it
requested.
just goes on and on and on, so we can shut the town down or we can sanction and go on and enjoy life as we have done.
Okay.
Joe has deep pockets.
Okay, good, Joe pay the bill.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, John. Make the
I'll
next one.
talk to Ms. Richardson.
All right, the next one on the,
Saturday night, you.
The next one is the Brattleboro Development Corp. I received a letter from them basically requesting that Mr. R.T. Brown, who's been hired as the administrator for the Wyndham County Development Program, have a few minutes to speak to the board about what this is and how it might help the economic growth in Townsend, and there was no dates. It basically says he'll show up in the next few days and request a time for a brief presentation followed by a question and answer session for us, the board. So I just want to let you know that we're going to be hearing from the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. This is that VY money. That they're-
And maybe at our next meeting, well,
I haven't heard anything from him, but just be
I've heard an
aware.
awful lot of stuff from some of the groups that are involved in that. They've really been trying to get people to fill out the application
We went
forms,
through
and they've
that.
not been successful this year. Last year, they had 7 or 8 of them.
That's because they're onerous.
Oh, you don't have to tell
Oh,
me.
I was
did
there
read
with
two of
you.
them. Yeah, I know, we went to the meeting, but there were more than one. But anyway, I've been reading them, and they've been extending their deadlines and doing this, that, and the other thing. But anyway, they do have money to,
So anyway,
That's right.
just know that may be coming. Now,
get the business association.
the next thing that's coming, is a letter from Miss Long, our representative. And it says, I received a letter yesterday morning from the Select Board and Planning Commission asking for my help on the issues surrounding the Townsend Dam. The letter came to me late because it was forwarded from Montpelier. I also received an email recently from a Townsend resident about this issue and had already called the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources about the silt buildup in the Townsend Dam to get a sense of the situation. I would very much like to speak or meet with the Select Board and or the Planning Commission to discuss how I may assist them in their pursuit of a resolution of these issues. I wait to hear from you. Please feel free to forward this email to the Select Board and Planning Commission. Thank you sincerely, Emily Long.
I would make a motion, we invite Emily Long to the next select board meeting.
Second.
Which would be the 19th, the
Also-
calendar loss is lumped up.
And also, request the planning commission meet with us at that time. A joint meeting with the planning commission that night.
For the 19th with planning commission.
Okay, are you gonna run the meeting?
Oh, okay, where are you going?
I'm gonna be underneath the table.
Well, Kyle's the
Kyle?
chair.
When did you say, I saw him in July last time. You gonna run the meeting? Just wanna
I'll
know.
run,
Okay.
well, if you're not gonna be here,
I'm gonna be
So-
under the table.
We will be out by 7.
Make a quarter of my income in 2 days, 2 days before.
under the table.
Yeah, that's where we're making That was
Right,
not
yeah.
nice.
We are on camera.
Sorry, we are on camera. Jeff, Jeff,
So,
Sometimes.
is there a second to the motion that this one
Yeah,
made?
Rob's already through.
Okay. So all those in favor
good thing
of,
we have a little
Inviting Ms.
fun
Long on the
anyhow, right?
19th, joining with the planning commission.
it isn't the 19th, is it?
Yes, it is, October 19th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Okay, so those in favor of having a joint meeting with the
I
planning
may
commission,
be
just,
sick that day too.
excuse me. Having a joint
Didn't
meeting
mean to interrupt you.
with the planning commission on the 19th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Okay.
Subject to parties being available.
You think?
We know we'll be here.
I won't be. I will be under the table. I keep telling you that. Don't start.
I didn't
We can
say a word
descend,
that
we can
time.
descend to your level.
Can you?
Yes, we
Oh, we
can.
can have a party.
And we could all
Okay.
meet under the table.
Good luck with that, Rich.
We won't need the tripod that day.
There you go. We can just sit it down on the floor. All right, that's all the correspondence, and you will be in touch with Emily then?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Old business other than officer appointments, which we still have a slew of them, and it's almost time to do it again.
Almost time to do it again.
There's no new business, no other business. Is there a need for an executive session? Hearing none, then the next meeting is scheduled for October 19th to be a joint meeting, at least partially with the planning commission. Is there something else?
I would say please do look through those manila folders, whether you look at the budget report or not. The bigger package is, the proposed budget, and you just fill in numbers on the right-hand column. Look at what last year's was, look at what this year's has done, or what you expect it to do, and we can tally them up. Make them subject for
March
debate.
isn't that far away.
So I got a copy of that firehouse truck budget. Do you want me to make you a copy?
Sure. And I can plug the numbers in on here. So, yeah, firehouse budget would be great.
Okay, so hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:40.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Opposed?
No, you weren't gonna vote no.
No.